Welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we have of one of the industry leaders, Kalpesh Desai, CEO of Agile Financial Technologies. Welcome, Kalpesh. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Alexander. I'm doing very well. I hope you're well too.
Yeah, good and awesome because I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience.
So,
N- Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Agile Financial Technology does?
so Agile Financial Technologies is a software product company, primarily focused on the insurance industry and the financial services sector. Predominantly in the financial services sector, we service wealth management, investment management, and banks who provide bank assurance products. This is our stack of
Okay.
products. So we are uh, headquartered here in the UAE, but we have customers in close to around 35 countries, an office in New York, an office in India.
Okay,
Uh,
that's really fascinating.
the countries we service are emerging markets, predominantly Latin America, Caribbean, Africa, Middle East, and Asia.
Yeah, okay, that's really fascinating. That what inspired you to create Agile Financial Technologies? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
I think when I started Agile Financial Technologies, I had come in from two previous organizations. I've had two successful exits so far in creating technology companies. One of the gaps that I've seen was identifying software product companies that had very good products but weren't able to take them to market. So Agile was formed by acquiring the assets of other technology companies initially, though, and then subsequently we built on that. So we launched Agile Financial Technologies in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The gap I saw in the market is that if you look at emerging markets, there are very few, they're fragmented players across these markets. And most of these players have either come in from India or they would have, if I look at the Caribbean, they would have come in from the UK. But none of them were able to provide the spectrum of functionality that the industry required at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if I see the gap that we needed to address, and the second gap that we had was the absence of skills to implement these solutions in different markets. So each of the countries that we service do not have a lot of depth. So you may find 50 to 60 insurance companies, let's say, in one country.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to deploy our resources in 50 to 60 companies, like most software vendors were doing, would not have been profitable or cost effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we built a channel ecosystem across these countries where we could create channel partners, an ecosystem which would be able to implement, train, and support our customers in these markets.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Okay,
second
I
gap
see.
we filled in. So then the customers have local support, the ability to draw in from local expertise around our products, and also extend these as we go forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. And what was your background before starting this venture?
So I'm a technology person. As I mentioned, I've had two successful exits. I was part of an organization that created one of the leading ERP systems in the region. We also had an insurance product at that time. That company got acquired by the ICICI Group. I had exited and I had created another organization called Exmediaries, which then created a CRM, ERM, Enterprise Relationship Management platform, again focused across various verticals and industries, including financial services. A year after the previous company was acquired, my company was also acquired by 3 Infotech or ICICI Infotech. And then
Mm-hmm.
we merged that together in around 2001. Ran the business from 2001 to 2008, where we came up with a run rate revenue of around $200 million. And that's the time when I decided to, in the region that we were operating, which happened to be Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then I decided to exit and then launch my own organization again.
Okay, okay. And
So,
also, because I think it is very interesting, and could you share your journey from starting your first venture at 18 to building Agile Financial Technologies?
so when I joined the first company at the age of 18, at post that I grew up the ladder in that organization. I was not an owner in that organization. It's only post me being allowed to become a driver in that company to drive growth in that organization that I was offered equity and a participation in the proceeds of their exit. That was the first entities.
Okay, okay, I
So
see.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a book that I'm writing called Anywhere But Here, which will actually have the entire storyline built in.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you.
So
Okay. And what key lessons did you learn? Because you mentioned this from growing a business from $4.5 million to 200 million in revenue.
I think when you're growing at that pace, what happens is something breaks all the time.
Hmm.
So you need to the lessons that you've learned in the past do not always serve you in the future. So
Okay.
you need to look out, you need to be very present to the environment, the business environment, the economic environment. You need to be very, very present to people because people need to also scale. The leaders in your own organization need to scale at the same pace that the organization is growing. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
right.
much almost like a living being that is, imagine a child that's going through a growing phase very rapidly. You cross 10 years and then you're now in your teens suddenly. And then, during the teenage years, you've got the sudden spurt of growth with all the anxiety that comes along with growth. So the lesson there is that you need to be very conscious that you can't grow without seeing something else broken. You need to be conscious of what can possibly break and then look at means to fix it before it
Yeah,
grows. So it could be your delivery processes, it could be your support processes, it could be growing in, it could be even things like getting into a region where collection is, getting your currency out of there is a nightmare. So you've got to learn all that as you go along. There are no textbooks in that are available that will allow you to learn those
right.
lessons, right? So the only lesson really is for a leader is to be very conscious of the present and which direction all the indicators are moving in. Don't
Yeah,
assume that
right.
because if I have my next venture, I'm not going to assume that all the successful patterns that were there in the past will appear will be the same patterns that
Yeah,
will appear today. So I can't be stuck in that position if I have to drive a business at that size.
right, right. Makes sense. Now, let's go back to when you first started. So, what major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
So when I first started Agile Financial Technologies, I realized that the gap in the market was uh, very dispersed competitive landscape. So in each
Hmm.
region, you would find two to three players that would be servicing the insurance landscape. None of them were doing it very well. The customers were complaining of support. The customers, and I was in touch with, before I started, I got in touch with regulators. I got in touch with, let's say, insurance associations across various countries. And then I realized that unless you have some sort of presence on the ground, understanding the cultural nuances, being on top of the regulatory game, because regulations keep changing ever so often.
Yeah,
You need to be ahead of the curve. You can't be sitting far away and profess to know what the regulatory changes are. So, for example, when IFRS 17 became a norm, we knew a lot of our customers would get impacted. So we
right.
started an education process for our customers way before the adoption process was
Yeah, yeah,
mandated
yeah.
by the regulators. So just as an example,
Hmm.
I think that's really where it is. I think the uh, fragmented competitive landscape, the inability for competition to significantly address the support and service requirements of companies like insurance firms, which is where we saw a significant gap.
Hmm. Okay, okay, I see. And how is Agile Financial Technologies transforming insurance and investment management?
I think what we've done is we've looked at in the insurance industry, particularly when you look at the entire flow that takes place, an insurance company's customers truly value the insurance company only when their claims are processed on a timely manner.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fundamental part of it, right? So if I just look at business from a perspective of when is my customers really satisfied, an insurance company's customer is truly satisfied when their claim is processed on time,
Hmm.
right? Just as if you go back to
Yeah.
the essence of customer service. So we wanted to solve that problem in the technology. So how is it that we could make the entire process so seamless that we remove any subjectiveness from any decision making that the insurance company would have to do? So be it at the time of writing business, which would be creating a policy, or being at the time of disbursing a claim or approving a claim, and eliminating any subjective decision making on part of the adjudicator, the claims adjudicator, is where
Yeah.
we stepped up our game.
Yeah, right.
Okay? So that's just an example of how
Yeah, yeah.
we're changing the landscape. Now with generative AI stepping in, I think we have a massive opportunity ahead of us in terms of how this whole game can change ahead. Now, if I look at the
100%.
financial services industry, Alexander, banks have been first to adopt. Insurance
Mhm.
companies are very slow to adopt.
Yeah.
And insurance companies come under a lot more regulation as well. How do onboard customers? How do I ensure that the processes are compliant with regulatory requirements.
Yeah.
A lot of the products are regulated by, the sold by insurance companies are also regulated by the regulators. So, for example, if you are selling life insurance products, then every product that you are setting out to sell needs to be approved by the regulator.
Yeah.
With all the parameters and all the dynamics that go along with the
Yeah.
product. So
Interesting.
yeah.
And for example, what unique challenges do you see in serving 35 countries across different regions? Basically, the pattern.
I think the challenge is this that the primary challenge, if I look at selling, the primary challenge is the depth in the market. So there is not enough depth in the market for us to go in and say, okay, I've gone into a country like Cambodia. I see that there are 25 to 30 companies that are there. Does it justify me setting up a physical presence there? How do I increase an outreach to these companies? So what
Mhm.
we did is we said, okay, in all these countries that we're in, we will we'll first start identifying greenfield customers, customers who would be recently getting a license from the regulator, would have recently got
Yeah.
a license from the regulator. So we started talking to insurance associations. We started being in conversation and quickly and quietly following what a regulator was doing, which licenses were being issued, and started talking to the startup insurance companies in those regions with a promise to get them live in a very rapid time frame.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
been our go-to. So that was the challenge, and this is how we addressed it. So we were able to get hold of a very limited segment of customers. Once we had that in, then the established insurance companies in those regions saw the success and were able to then approach us directly. So the
Okay.
lead
Okay.
generation process is an extremely challenging cycle, requires a very top-down approach in this kind of a segment. Now, coming to servicing, before we start selling, we need to have the ability to service.
Yeah.
So identifying the right partner. Sometimes the channel partners in these countries may not have the capacity or the domain knowledge of insurance to be able to service these customers. So
Yeah.
there's an extensive training process that we need to go through, training them on the insurance industry, training them on our technology, training them on our product is a very challenging process. And only when they are certified to service is when we allow them to service. So then in the initial phases, we may have to second some of our resources to them to learn the process. And that gives the customer a lot more comfort as well.
Yeah.
So these are the
Right.
two
Right.
significant issues that we face. And obviously the
Yeah.
third one is that in emerging markets, uh, Forex becomes a big challenge. So, once you sell, how do you get your money out of there? How do you ensure credit risk in these markets? That's something that we need to study and be abreast of all the time.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And how do you maintain innovation while operating through channel partners?
So I think we listen. I think there's a lot of fluff, if I say, that comes our way. When AI started, there's a whole, everybody came up with various ideas. All they did really was not use AI, but they used something called robotic process automation,
Yeah.
really. And we didn't want to go that path. There were enough players. So we waited for some level of noise to settle down before it actually, you can build models that can actually work for customers. So I think that's really where that was really.
Okay. Okay. And walk us through how Agile Financial Technologies addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
I think what we have a very unique discovery phase. So, other than the fact that, some of these customers who approach us would have, let's say, RFPs that are issued, which are requests for proposals, with very detailed requirements that are listed out that we need to respond to. Now, when we respond to those RFPs, what we realize is that we get boxed in to the requirements that they have. And perhaps these customers aren't aware of the other functions that we can actually come that can offer. So this is
Yeah,
where we normally come in. We propose what's called a discovery phase. We do a discovery for the client at our cost. And once we obviously when we qualify that the client is a potential buyer, um, when we go through the discovery phase, we are able to offer value. So we look for what is the job that the customer is trying to do. Are they trying
yeah,
to move away from an existing system? Are they trying to solve a regulatory problem? Do they have a reporting issue? Do they have a problem with their claims? What are the problems? And how can we
yeah.
address those low-hanging fruits upfront? So, those are the things that we step up with. So we
Hmm.
don't get boxed in by only the traditional requirements that an insurance company has, but we start addressing what the problem on the ground is.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
So I think it's
interesting.
really focusing on what is the real job that the CEO of that insurance company is trying to do is what we want to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, and basically to help them after this, of course.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
these become very long-standing relationships. You don't invest in a core platform like ours and for only a year or two. These are relationships that last 10 to 15 years.
right, right.
Right. So
And you have to nurture the relationship.
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how does your advisory work with the IFC and SPARE inform your business perspective?
So I think these are two separate conversations. It keeps my I think I'm an independent director on the board of an investment bank in the IFC. And there I just offer my insights in terms of governance, etc., which are required as per the DIFC independent
Yeah.
directorship norms. On the board, on the advisory board for SPA, which is their West African franchise, Nigeria, I look at their strategy and I look at their strategic initiatives where the leadership is looking at building up, increasing the throughput of their own leadership team,
Hmm.
and that's basically where I come in. It's a very people intensive process there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
I think it's exciting for me because, on one hand, driving agile, which is on, if I could say, has its own motion and it's running on its own steam. Uh, a lot of insights that I get from these advisory and board engagements give me insights on terms of how to run my own company as well,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? So.
Okay, okay. And for example, how do you balance multiple leadership roles across different organizations?
I think time, if one says that I do not have time, then that person comes in from an absence of abundance. Okay,
Yeah,
so you can always make time. You can always, balance your efforts.
right.
Unfortunately for me, everybody's in different time zones, so it works very well. So you can work longer hours, but I think it what excites you.
Yeah. Okay. And I have a curiosity by then because I have this. So when you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
I think the typical misconception that most clients would have about us, for example, would be that we're just like any other software vendor. The way software vendors build them is without outcomes.
Hmm.
So they build them for time or they build them for a product, and they're not concerned about the outcomes that customers have. So
Yeah,
we first come in and then say, listen, and they would assume that we are the same. Whereas we are very outcome driven. So when we come in and we make a proposal, then we will make a proposal based on very specific outcomes, based upon our understanding of what the customer's job to do is.
right.
So if the customer says, listen, I've got an issue with my claims resolution, and that is the
Hmm.
reason why I'm starting. Or we see, in the news media or on reviews on their own sites when we see complaints from their customers. We
Yeah.
get a sense of where is it that their processes are failing, and we have the opportunity to use that information to present back to the CEO saying, this is how you can solve that problem. And if you're able to solve this problem, this is how we expect to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Okay.
outcome driven plan is what they do not anticipate when we come in and make our proposals.
Okay, I see. And
So
also, could you share a specific success story of a client who saw significant results using your solution?
So I think in Ghana, there was a client that was owned by the Catholic Church. I wouldn't take the name, obviously, where we had a situation where they did not select our system on the first round. They selected another platform. They went in, tried the implementation process, and after a year and a half of implementation, all they could get going was the motor insurance policy, which was only 25% of their business.
Right.
So come December, we had a challenge, and the client came to us and said, "Listen, Kalpesh, I need your help. How do we solve the problem? Is there any which way that you can assist?" So we were able to rally our teams together, in both the channel partners' resources and our resources, and we came up with a 30-day plan because 1st of January they had to issue policies from a new platform, which was ours. So we
Mm-hmm.
came in around the first week of December, got them, with through the low-hanging fruits, and we drove the implementation in two parts. So, but basically, by the time they hit the end of January, they were on our platform, which kind of saved their entire business line, really. So that was a matter of pride for us.
Okay, okay. Interesting one. And now, looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
I think there are a couple of trends. If I look at we service in the insurance industry, we service both the short term and life and medical. So they're
Okay,
two different segments altogether, really. Life has moved towards an advisory kind of a process, but even on the short-term insurance side, being able to look at how is it that customers want to buy insurance has changed.
okay.
If I'm buying motor insurance and my car is sitting idle for 6 months in a year, why do I have to pay
Yeah,
for those 6 months? That is the kind of question that our customers are starting to face. So a lot of customers are forced to look at usage-based insurance.
mm-hmm.
Secondly, when I look at, let's say, for example, markets where companies like Uber and Careem have become active, when they take on policies, you will notice that in certain markets, they will say, add $1 and then insure your trip. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
seen that when you're booking on the app.
Yeah,
That basically means that we need to have the means to rate that trip based upon are they going through peak traffic? What is the rating of the driver? Where are they driving to? You know? So
yeah,
those are the kind of things that we essentially do, and that comes up with the with what's called usage-based policy for the insurance company that is now which is now offering this as a service to, let's say, companies like rideshare companies, as an
yeah,
example. These were not traditional offerings by an insurance software provider.
yeah,
It
right.
required us to essentially split it down into that. So that's one big change that we've seen. The other change that we are seeing is in terms of fraud management. You know, as it's progressed, I mean, you need to look at various elements of fraud. You need to be able to look at, let's say, for example, if somebody has claimed disability, but is playing, on social media is posting photos of playing golf the next day. How do I trap that without stalking, without having to, go through that whole cycle? So you've got tools now that allow you to go through, all the dynamics of a customer, capture all their profiles, all their demographics, and be able to look at track activity, so to speak, so that you can get that in. We used to have, 20 years ago, I could file a claim for the loss of my right hand, and then after 2 years, come back and claim for the loss of my right thumb. But my right thumb doesn't exist because I've already said that I've lost my right hand.
Yeah, right.
So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have you. So the software products did not keep track of these attributions really, and it
Yeah,
needed a lot of intelligence to essentially trap that kind of fraud in the process. At the same time, you want to be able to offer the customer a quick decision on their claims, when they lodge a claim. So how is it that you balance the two in terms of, using learning models that you will establish, uh, and eliminate any level of subjective decision making
mm-hmm.
from the customer, from the adjudicator.
Yeah, right.
right?
And with that being said, what do you think most business owners are getting wrong when they're trying to address this specific problem?
Okay, that's a tough one. I mean, I need to apply my mind to that question. I think what they're getting wrong is when they select a solution because it's a new problem. What they figure out is that they do not know, and okay, let's go back to basics. Insurance companies are very risk averse
Yeah,
by nature of their business, right? So, and so are the CEOs of these insurance companies are also risk averse. So they would like to try tested models before they try to test something new. This
yeah,
is also the reason why you'll find that insurance companies are slower to adopt new technology than, let's say, banks.
hmm,
Okay, what I see is this that the ability for them to take a decision based upon an offering is very weak. So you need to be able to offer them an outcome rather than,
yeah.
features.
Okay.
Okay.
And for example, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs in the financial sector?
I think one is know your customer very well. So first is, if you're setting
Yeah,
out, you asked all the questions, am I solving a problem at all?
yeah,
Okay, if I am solving a problem, do I have the market to which I can send my solution to? Third is, do I have sufficient market for it to become a sustainable business for me? And three, am I overly enthusiastic about the money that I need to run my business? So what I've seen is aspiring entrepreneurs, the moment they raise funding, you have a business plan, you got your revenue plan and your expense plan. And I can tell you the easiest target to meet in your business plan is the expense,
yeah.
not your revenue, right? So if you're launching a business, irrespective of how much funding you got, through such time as you reach sustainability, wear a bootstrapped hat,
Yeah.
right? Spend only as much money as you make, or spend only as much money as you know you'll have a runway to run. That's basically the biggest point of failure.
Right, right, right. And as you wrap up, what's next for Agile Financial Technologies? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
We have something in the ramps. Maybe I can share some part of it. What we've seen is that as digitization is gaining forward, what we've seen is that customers have been investing in different channels to communicate with their own insurance companies have been investing in different channels to communicate with their partners and their customers.
Yeah.
And every insurance company has had to go in and build something on their own. So we're trying to eliminate what we're coming up with will eliminate the process. We are building in a low code, no code platform that will encompass the business logic for insurance companies
Yeah.
and allow them to create channel, when I say customer facing, partner facing interfaces digitally, which would allow them to deploy that, through mobile apps or through chatbots or through any other means that they may so need. I think that's really what's exciting for us. That's where the build is currently. That's where our investments currently going into.
Okay, okay, see.
That will also give
And
us access to customers who don't necessarily use our own platform, but can also give us access to customers who use other companies
yeah,
for the
yeah,
insurance
right.
platforms.
Right, 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 right. And also, could you tell us about your upcoming book, Anywhere But Here?
So anyway, but here is essentially a book which is written for budding entrepreneurs. So it talks about mentorship, leadership, people management, how to tackle, issues that come your way, how to
Yeah.
build up resilience, how to break through walls that you face in your ongoing course of business. So whilst it's sectioned like that, what I've done is I've taken stories from my own life,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's a storytelling format. So each lesson is based upon a
Okay.
story from my life, really. And these are real life stories that I've put in there. So the full form of anywhere but here is you won't find me anywhere but here. So that's it. So that's the test of resilience for somebody who's an entrepreneur.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like for example, I was talking to somebody who wanted to who was leaving a very good position in a bank and wanting to start a fintech company. He is 35 years old, 35 to 36 years old, very good position. And I asked him, I said, if you had to take no salary for 12 months, are you okay? He said, yes, yes, I'm okay. I said, have you told that to your wife? He says, no. I said, before you even decide to start, go and talk to your wife.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So you need to carry everybody along to be able to take that up, right? So
Yeah, right. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with agile financial technologies, what's the best way to get in touch?
I think we've got an email address called info@agile-ft.com. You can reach out through that to that forum, and I think we've also are on LinkedIn, so you can create an outreach to LinkedIn. I'm fairly responsive on LinkedIn, so I mean, if there's anybody who wants to connect with me personally, they can.
Perfect.
So
Okay. So thank you for sharing those insights about you and about your company and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
absolutely a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Alexander.
Yeah, thank you and see you in the next episode.
See you. Take care. Bye.